Crocodile Dundee is one of the most iconic films of the 1980s, but behind its success are the names of people who have passed away. Some collapsed in loneliness, some died on the operating table, others have disappeared forever, and no one knows where they are. This is the heartbreaking truth behind a cinematic legend. Join us in discovering and paying tribute to them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. David Gulpilil as Neville Bell. David Dalathangu Gulpilil was born 1st July 1953. Is a Yolngu indigenous artist from Arnhem Land, Northern Australia. He was 33 when he starred in the 1986 film Crocodile Dundee, playing Neville Bell, a small but memorable role that captured the unique intersection of Aboriginal culture and the modern world. The role was a reflection of his life as a man who lived between two worlds, tradition and modernity, the wilderness and the glamour of Hollywood. David Gulpilil died on November 29, 2021, at the age of 68 after a 4-year battle with lung cancer. He spent his final years living quietly in Murray Bridge, South Australia. He was appointed an AM, an Order of Australia, and received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2019 NIDOC Awards. After his death, his loved ones asked the public to temporarily refer to him as David Dalathangu, following the indigenous custom of avoiding the name of the deceased. His net worth at the time of his death was only about $500,000, not because he was not famous, but because he did not live for himself. Much of his earnings from film and theater were shared with the community, in keeping with the spirit of "We are one blood," as he once said. His death was a huge loss to Indigenous Australian culture, but the spotlight could not hide a deep wound. Gulpilil's life was a constant struggle between identity and temptation, between fame and destruction. After his iconic role in Walkabout 1971, he entered the world of white Australia, where he met Bob Marley, John Lennon, and hard liquor. From there, alcoholism began to destroy his life, leaving him homeless in Darwin, dubbed the Tramp, and repeatedly in trouble with the law. The 2011 incident, when he was sentenced to a year in prison for drunkenly assaulting his wife, marked the nadir of his life. Not the fall of a violent man, but of a man whose addiction had lost control. But behind bars, he realized something. And then in Charlie's Country, 2014, he not only acted, but actually lived on screen, telling his own lonely story. An Indigenous man lost in a world built by white people. John Mellon as Walter Wally Riley. John Mellon was born on May 1, 1934, in the suburb of Mosman, Sydney, Australia. In 1986, he was 52 years old when he joined the cast of Crocodile Dundee and played Walter Wally Riley, Mick Dundee's best friend and comedic sidekick. With his warm baritone voice and natural acting style, John not only brought laughter to the audience, but also made them feel comfortable in the strange world of New York. However, behind the spotlight, his life was a silent tragedy. Just 3 years after the success of Crocodile Dundee on 11 August 1989, John Mellon died at the age of 55 from cirrhosis of the liver, a direct result of his long-term alcoholism. He breathed his last breath at Neutral Bay, not far from the Oaks Hotel, a pub that has named a bar after him, the John Mellon OBE Bar. Despite being a veteran actor with over 30 years in the industry, and recipient of the A-ACTA Award in the Order of the British Empire for services to the theater, Mellon never revealed the full extent of his alcoholism. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $2 million, largely from film, television, and voice work, notably for the Victoria Bitter beer brand, famously saying, "You can buy it any way you want." But it was his alcoholism that cast the darkest shadow over his life. John once said he drank because he was bored, but it seemed to come from invisible pressures that no one could see. In real life, although he was always a source of laughter, he was often withdrawn, sad, and sometimes emotionally out of control. Colleagues, including Paul Hogan, have revealed that although he was a professional, Mellon could sometimes be aloof and unstable. Although the film The Fourth Wish, 1976, brought him many major awards, in his later years he largely disappeared from the screen. Perhaps the most heartbreaking question remains: how could a man so beloved across Australia have succumbed to loneliness and addiction? Michael Lombard as Sam Charlton. Michael Lombard was born on August 8, 1934 in Brooklyn, New York. In 1986, when Crocodile Dundee was released to worldwide audiences, Michael was 52 years old and playing Sam Charlton, the urban intellectual father of Sue Charlton. Although only a minor character, Sam was the perfect contrast to Mick Dundee. Calm, somewhat skeptical but still maintaining the qualities of a father, protecting his daughter in his own way. This role left in the audience the image of a stern gaze in the wild landscape of Australia. He passed away on August 13, 2020, at the age of 86, just a few days after his last birthday. For decades, Michael has been a familiar face on American television. From the richest people in the 1980s to the Law and Order stars of the early 2000s. Through this solid career, he has amassed an estimated net worth of $3 million, mostly from his stable career. But behind that calm exterior lies a crack that almost brought him down. In the late 1970s, as Broadway began to tighten its budgets and favor only the most marketable names, Michael was cut from virtually every major production. One year, he went 14 months without a role. He once wrote an audition for a low-budget television show, just to make enough money to pay the rent. The sleepless nights brought him to the brink of quitting acting, and he seriously considered returning to Brooklyn to teach just to make ends meet. But then, in 1991, a glimmer of hope came when he landed a role in the play What's Wrong with This Picture? And in what seemed like his last performance, he unexpectedly won an Obie Award, the prestigious award given to outstanding theater performers. This comeback didn't make him a star, but it kept him in the position he deserved. Gus Mercurio as Frank. Gus Mercurio was born on August 10, 1928 in Wisconsin, USA, and later became an Australian citizen. In 1988, at the age of 60, Gus appeared in Crocodile Dundee 2 as Frank, a charming but powerful drug dealer with a gruff, hard-nosed personality that only he could portray with authenticity. Few would suspect that the man on screen was a boxer in real life. Sadly, Gus Mercurio passed away on December 7, 2010 at the age of 82. He died from complications following surgery for a thoracic aortic aneurysm, a silent but deadly disease. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at $1.5 million, amassed from both his acting career and his work as a boxing referee and sports commentator. His funeral was a simple but deeply moving affair in Melbourne, the place he had made his second home for more than half his life. Gus had not originally come to Australia for the movies, but as a chiropractor for the US boxing team at the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. But that first visit changed his fate. He decided to stay, starting anew in a foreign land, working as a chiropractor in rural Victoria and trying his hand at television. His husky voice and outgoing demeanor quickly won over Australian audiences. Within a few years, he was a familiar face on World of Sport, a household name on the weekend. Transitioning from sports to acting in middle age, Gus never attended formal acting school. However, he made impressive appearances in films such as The Blue Lagoon, 1980, and The Man from Snowy River, 1982, where his supporting roles always had more soul and depth than the script required. He once said, "I'm not the greatest actor, but I know exactly who I am, and if a character needs me, I'll live it up." That statement is not only true for his role as Frank in Crocodile Dundee 2, but also a manifesto for Gus Mercurio's entire life. A man who constantly adapts, learns, and lives each role as if it were his own life. Mark Bloom as Richard Mason. Mark Bloom, full name Mark Jeffrey Bloom, was born on May 14, 1950 in Newark, New Jersey. Bloom was just 36 when he joined the cast of Crocodile Dundee in 1986. Blum played Richard Mason, the successful but somewhat arrogant boyfriend of the female lead, Sue Charlton. His character was not only a contrast to Mick Dundee, but also a reflection of the conflict between urban sophistication and primitive instincts. Sadly, Mark Blum passed away on March 25, 2020, at the age of 69. The cause was complications from COVID-19 during the early stages of the pandemic in New York City. His death came quickly and unexpectedly. He had only mild symptoms and was doing his usual activities before being admitted to the hospital. But just days after being admitted to New York Presbyterian Hospital, he died, leaving a deep hole in the theater and television community. His net worth at the time was estimated at $5 million, amassed over a career spanning more than 4 decades on Broadway in film and on television. So, what people remember Blum for isn't just his roles in Desperately Seeking Susan, 1985, or Mozart in the Jungle, 2014-2018, but also a little-known detail. Before his success, he worked as a waiter for many years to pursue his passion for acting. New York is not a city that is kind to the unknown, especially in the off-Broadway world, but Blum never gave up. In a rare interview, he shared that he was rejected for more than 30 roles in 1 year, but he still went to auditions every morning. That tenacity helped make him a beloved teacher at HB Studio, where he taught for the rest of his life. Perhaps that is why, although not a household name, when he passed away, many directors, actors, and students called him the quiet flame of New York theater. And that flame will forever burn in the memories of all who saw him perform. Ernie Dingo is Charlie Ernie Dingo. Full name Ernest Ashley Dingo was born on 31st July 1956 in Balerdo Station, Western Australia. He was just 32 when he appeared in Crocodile Dundee 2 in 1988. He played Mick Dundee's Indigenous friend Charlie, who brought cultural depth to the hit action comedy. Despite being a supporting role, Charlie left a unique mark, helping to define an Australian with a rich Indigenous identity that global audiences had rarely seen before. As of 2025, Ernie Dingo is 69 years old and still active in the entertainment industry. He is a familiar face on Australian television, hosting the travel show Going Places with Ernie Dingo on NITV. With over 40 years of contributions to film, television, and community projects, his net worth is estimated at $5 million. He has been named a living national treasure, a living Australian icon. But behind the glamour lies a personal controversy that has rocked his career. In 2008, a shocking allegation put Ernie Dingo in the spotlight. During a cultural event in the town of Carnarvon, Western Australia, he was accused of pushing and berating an 11-year-old boy. According to the boy's mother, the child interrupted Dingo during a traditional ceremony, causing Dingo to lose his temper, push the boy, and berate him. The incident quickly attracted national media attention, severely tarnishing Dingo's image as a friendly and inspirational television personality. He denied all allegations and was not criminally prosecuted. However, the boy's family filed a civil lawsuit seeking damages for emotional distress. Although the outcome of the case was never made public, Dingo largely disappeared from mainstream television for a long time afterward. The incident left a huge scar on a career and reputation that had taken him decades to build. In the public eye, Dingo was seen as a stalwart, a gentle, inspirational Indigenous man who overcame poverty and racism to become a national icon. Linda Kozlowski as Sue Charlton. Linda Kozlowski was born on January 7, 1958 in Fairfield, Connecticut, USA. In 1986, when she starred in Crocodile Dundee, she was only 28 years old and played Sue Charlton, a smart, daring American journalist who is fascinated not only by the Australian wilderness, but also by the mighty crocodile Mick Dundee himself. With her mesmerizing blue eyes and natural acting style, Linda transformed Sue into a new icon of the modern woman on screen, strong, independent, yet emotionally stable. That role was not only a breakthrough in her career but also a turning point in her life. As of 2025, Linda Kozlowski is 67 years old and lives peacefully in California, having left the film industry since 2001. She once admitted in an interview that Hollywood no longer appealed to her and that the roles she was offered were nothing more than women screaming and being dragged through the mud. She later turned to business and is now co-founder of a luxury travel company that organizes private tours in Morocco with her new husband, real estate entrepreneur Moulay Hafid Baba. Her estimated net worth is around $8 million, mainly from the Crocodile Dundee series and smart investments after stepping away from the limelight. Linda now lives a quiet life away from the noise of fame, but what the public remembers most about Linda is not just her talent or beauty, but her real-life romance with co-star Paul Hogan, a relationship that was born out of fiction and lasted more than 2 decades. After reuniting on Crocodile Dundee 2, 1988, and Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles 2001, the two officially married in 1990 despite a 19-year age gap and Hogan's divorce from his longtime wife Noah Lean, with whom he had 5 children. They had a son together, but the marriage quietly ended in 2014 with Linda citing irreconcilable differences. What makes the audience wonder is not the reason for their divorce, but why a seemingly fairy tale love story did not have a happy ending in real life. Perhaps Linda soon realized the gap between reality and fantasy, and that may be the reason she decided to leave Hollywood to live her own life. Reginald VelJohnson as Gus. Reginald VelJohnson, born Reginald Johnson, was born on August 16, 1952 in New York City. He was 34 years old when he appeared in Crocodile Dundee in 1986. Playing Gus, a limousine driver with a suave demeanor, piercing eyes, and a charming smile. Although his appearance was brief, his character left a lasting impression with his kindness amidst the chaos of New York City. Although it was a small role, it quietly paved the way for his later iconic police roles. As of 2025, VelJohnson is 73 years old. Although he no longer regularly appears in major projects, he continues to be active in the industry through guest appearances, voiceovers, and commercials, most notably as a TV dad in a progressive ad campaign and as Principal Winslow in Invincible 2021. With more than 4 decades of experience in television and film, his net worth is estimated at $5 million, a figure that reflects stability rather than flash. He lives a quiet life in Oceanside, New York, unmarried and childless, spending most of his time alone and with a few close friends in the industry. However, a 2017 incident shocked his fans. A malicious rumor spread online that VelJohnson had died of a heart attack. Within hours, the false news had spread across social media and online news sites. Condolences and tributes were posted at a dizzying pace, as if the world was preparing to say goodbye. Yet while the public mourned, VelJohnson calmly ate dinner at home until friends called to check on him. He then spoke out gently but firmly to clarify the situation and has remained even more private since then. The incident led him to a profound realization. Perhaps to the public, he has become a symbol of the past, forever associated with his roles as the loving father in Family Matters and Officer Al Powell in Die Hard, 1988. Those kind-hearted roles have endeared him to people who are willing to believe they have lost a family member. VelJohnson does not deny the loneliness of being part of a film industry that no longer has room for quiet, familiar faces like himself. But he does not feel sad. "I survived the rumors of my own death. That's optimistic enough," he once said with a laugh in a rare interview. Paul Hogan as Michael Crocodile Dundee. Paul Hogan, real name Paul Hogan, was born on October 8, 1939 in Lightning Ridge, New South Wales, Australia. In 1986, at the age of 47, He captured the world's attention when he played Michael Crocodile Dundee in the film Crocodile Dundee, a role that not only brought him international fame but also shaped the image of the Australian wild man in the eyes of a global audience. With a giant dagger, a mischievous smile, and an optimistic spirit, whether in the outback or the city, Hogan transformed Dundee from a fictional character into a cultural icon. As of 2025, Paul Hogan is 85 years old. He now lives quietly in Los Angeles, away from the limelight in his former life. In recent years, Hogan has been off-screen, spending time with his small family and close friends, focusing on his health. At one point, he was embroiled in a tax case in Australia that prevented him from returning to his homeland. He now lives a simple life in America, away from the public eye. His net worth is estimated at $20 million. Enough to live comfortably, but not enough to erase the lingering homesickness and lingering regret for what he couldn't keep. If Hogan's career has been an adventure, his personal life has been a maze of contradictions. At the heart of the story is his relationship with actress Linda Kozlowski, his co-star in Crocodile Dundee. They were a power couple on screen at the time, falling in love in real life and marrying after Hogan divorced his first wife, Noeline, who had been with him for more than 2 decades and was the mother of his 5 children. Many could not understand why Hogan would trade a long-standing family for such a risky affair. He stayed silent, choosing to walk with Linda, believing that he had found true happiness, but that happiness did not last forever. His marriage to Linda ended in 2014, quietly and sadly, without any of the fanfare that had preceded it. In the years that followed, Hogan lived alone in a beach house in Venice, occasionally seen walking with his hands in his pockets, staring into the distance. In a rare interview, he once said, "I lost a family because of love, and in the end I lost that love too." This statement left many speechless, because behind the smile that once captivated the world was a man still haunted by his choices in life.